Okay, so we are on to compositing structure. So now that we've kind of covered the fundamentals of creating alphas and D-spills and how to combine the two of those, I'm going to present you guys with an overall structure to kind of navigate your scripts and combine the techniques that we've covered. So we've kind of already talked a little bit about it, and I've kind of actually gone through them a little bit, but this is an overview and maybe a little bit of a summary of what we've already talked about in a visual way, so we can grasp the concepts visually, just to make sure we're on the same page before we start working together through a key. And so the next project file will be a practical follow-along type of thing, as I know most people prefer learning like this. But this is the last kind of theory before we do that. So this is the keying structure diagram that I'm kind of teaching you guys. And so I'm going to pause this and kind of step by step go through this. So as we did our alpha, we did the same thing here. So we kind of branched it off to the left and we did our alpha creation. And so what did we do with this? We broke it down into one going vertically and one going horizontally. So our D-spill and our color image is controlled here in this blue pipe, and our alpha black and white matte is created on the left side here. So we break that down into its own little tree and we create a key. So we can use IBK or key light. And normally we work with the softer keys first and we combine them together, and then we will add our core keys and our holdout mats and garbage mats at the end. So we can see key 1, it looks like we're using an IBK or something like that. We have all this edge detail, but we have some holes and everything like that. Basically the same thing I've already explained. But just an overview. So key 2. So this image here is showing what's labeled. So key 1 is this key. Key 2, it looks like this. So it's another soft key. But we can see, for example, key 1 does a better job maybe up here, but it doesn't do a very good job on this lamp where there's some missing pieces. Key 2 does a better job in different areas. It doesn't do a good job in this corner, but it does a good job on this wire. So that's where we would combine them. We would say, I want to keep key 2 in this area. I want to keep key 1 in this area, and we key mix them together. So if we key mix 1 and 2, we get the best of both keys. Now we have a third key, which is a core key, and we merge it over. So we can see a merge max here, and we're merging that hard key, this one, over. So we fill in the holes. And then, of course, I've just added this to this diagram, key 4. You can add as many keys as necessary to this modular structure in order to build up your key as necessary. If you have a wider shot, you might need up to 10 keys. But that's the concept, and that's how you build it. So our final alpha looks like that. We might need to do a little bit more cleanup than that if you're doing a feature film key, but just as an example. And so now we would do the despelling process. Again, so what we already kind of covered, but this is just an overview. So we have an edge D-spill, which does a good job giving a neutral color on the edges there. But potentially, maybe it's a little bit too much D-spill. So some of these books actually had a little bit of green in them. And if we just use that really strong D-spill, we lose some of the natural plate colors that were in there. So what we'd want to do is create a core D-spill. So we can see here's the main one that we use, the overall D-spill. And then we have a core D-spill. So we have a separate color correction that basically will only affect the inside of this plate, but maybe not the green screen. So maybe we would need a stronger color correction here, but a little bit less of a color correction over here. And so we want to combine those two D-spills. So we use a key mix node, and the alpha that we plug into that is the core alpha. So we already created an alpha over here that tells us where is the inside of this key, and it's this key 3. So if I just go back here, we can see key 3 looks like this. Here it is, key 3. So it's not really on the edges, it's really just towards the center. So that's what we're using to control our D-spill. and we've plugged it in here. So this is just a general workflow you guys can remember, that if you need to control, usually most of the time you'll need a core and an edge D-spill. Same with an alpha. You'll need an edge alpha and a core alpha. And then after that, we would do the independent D-spills as necessary. So specific detail, add more as necessary. So for example, maybe his hair needs to be D-spilled a little bit differently, because if we get those kind of semi-transparent gray edges, if we just do leave it like this. So this kind of solves the problem. We do different D-spills, a little bit of yellow here, maybe a little bit darker for the darker patch of hair, and probably some separate D-spills for down here. So maybe some orange on this edge, etc. So we might need to do a couple manual D-spills for different areas. And we've copied that alpha, so we copy this alpha into this picture. So we're copying from here, A, into B. And we will pre-multiply that together, and we will merge that over our background. Down here on the bottom, I've added a couple more things that we'll cover. And this is where you would do other types of corrections to your picture. So if we want to do a color grade, for example, if our background was pretty different from our foreground, we might want to do some color corrections down here. And you can see it's before the pre-multiply. So again, any color corrections, we want to do it before the pre-multiply. And then we also have two other ones that I haven't really talked about yet, and we'll get to them, is dynamic D-spill, which is a more advanced technique where we can use the background to contaminate the foreground edges versus trying to roto every separate little edge if it's a different brightness. And we have a light wrap / diffusion. So that would be going before you can sometimes do this after pre-multiply as well, because the light wrap node, I think it kind of supports that. But there's different color grades we can do here, and I'll explain some of that can be done here as well. Usually I treat it like a color grade, so I'll put it usually in this area. But sometimes the light wrap can go after, sometimes it can go before in different cases. And that's pretty much it. So that's a general guideline. I'll basically save this out in a PDF if you guys are ever trying to figure out, trying to learn this process. But rather than just trying to follow a diagram, even though I'll still give it to you because when you're learning it's pretty helpful, but if you understand why you're placing things where they are and how we're building this up, you won't even need the diagram once you've got the concept down. And that's what I'm trying to convey to you guys, and that's why I'm kind of animated this whole grid and everything, to try to break it down step by step so that hopefully we can convey why we're doing things versus just giving you a diagram to follow. And so we'll go to the next slide here. And yeah, so this is the first bigger follow along project, and how to learn to structure your keying. So we're basically going to do exactly what I've done in the last couple of videos and do it step by step. So I'm not just going to go through something that's already created. Rather, I'll basically do it from scratch, and you can see exactly the process and hopefully copy and start to understand and pound this into your head, basically. So yeah, we'll open up this script, part4, CompStructure.nk, and we'll get started.